Welcome to How I Rent It, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on the tent rental industry. I'm Tony Ehrbar, the owner of American Tent, one of the leading event tent manufacturers in the U.S. As someone who got started in the event rental industry over 10 years ago, I'm excited to bring you the stories behind the people who keep events running smoothly. Was watching an episode of Shark Tank one night, had a couple of beers, and went on Craigslist, and in Green Bay was a tent rental business.
At the end of the day, failure was not an option. I'm going to do this.
Is this your first time on a podcast?
It is my first time on one, listening to one, seeing one. Yes, sir.
Each episode, we'll talk to inspiring event rental business owners to learn how they got started, the challenges they've faced, and their secrets to success. Whether you're dreaming of starting your own rental business or just love hearing great entrepreneurial stories with plenty of intent puns thrown in, this podcast is for you. Stephen has been through the rental industry for over 15 years.
And I was born under a tent.
This is the part where we're going to get into where we're going to have like VP of HR come in and just like okay the questions and answers. What does Ricky Bobby say? If you ain't first, you're last.
That's it. Absolutely.
So grab your coffee, your notebook, or just sit back and relax with a box of popcorn. Subscribe now on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts, and join me as we uncover the journey behind the tent rental industry and how I rent it. Welcome back to How I Rent It, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the tent and event rental industry. I'm your host, Tony Ehrbar, owner and CEO of American Tent. Today, I'm excited to welcome Nick Thomas, owner of Ashley's Party Rentals in Oceanside, California. Nick's path into the industry is a great story, from building a catering business with his wife over the past 10 years to eventually stepping into ownership of an established party rental business. Today, he's focused on growing both sides of the business and finding ways to bring catering and rentals together, all while modernizing operations and using data to make smarter decisions. In this episode, we'll talk about buying an existing rental business, combining catering with rentals, and what it takes to grow and evolve your operation. Let's dive in. Nick.
Hey, Tony.
How you doing? I'm good. How are things out in California?
A little warm today.
Warm today.
Yeah.
We got 30 inches of snow last week.
Yeah, I had to rub it in.
It was miserable. My daughter was off school for 2 days. I live out in the country and we have a well. And so I was a little nervous about water going out, right? And not having toilets.
Right.
So we went and stayed with my parents, which was fun. But
Nice. Yeah.
at Oceanside, remind those of us in the middle
Yeah.
where Oceanside is exactly.
Yeah. So we're Southern California, about an hour or so. We say hours, no miles here because everything's freeways and traffic. So about an hour north of San Diego, about 2 hours south of Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you service both areas or do you kind of stay
Primarily San Diego, and it's a little different than the Midwest. It's all suburbia from A to point B. So Oceanside itself is I think around 2 million people or so in this area. So we stay local in our North County, San Diego area, and we'll go down south every once in a while. For big catering gigs, I do hit up at Los Angeles and go up there. We do a big Greek festival every year up there. So yeah, both areas, but primarily just local.
Got it. Do you go to Tijuana?
I try to stay away from there.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, you don't want to get murdered.
Yeah, exactly. The tacos are just as good in our backyard here.
Yeah. Tacos El Gordo, I believe.
Yes.
That's my jam. Whenever I go to to San Diego or to Las Vegas, that is a must, along with In-N-Out Burger, obviously.
In-N-Out, yep. That's a weekly go-to for our family.
Cool. Well, let's dive in, talk a little bit about your business to get started. So tell us about yourself and your company, how you got started, business name, locations, all the gory details.
Yeah. So I started in the rental business just a year ago, February of 25. I was in the catering business for 10 years prior to that. We'll be celebrating our 10-year anniversary this summer. We bought Ashley's Party Rentals kind of by happenstance. I came in to rent some plates and place settings and stuff for a wedding we were doing. And the owner kind of knew me at the time, and because I would rent so often. And he said, "Hey, I'm selling. You might not get this caterer discount next time." I said, "You're selling?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna retire." And
Yeah.
we 3 months later, we had a deal in place, and my wife and I took over, and it was kind of funny because I was catering on the side. It was kind of our side hustle. I was in the IT industry working for probably the biggest employer in San Diego, which is the US Navy, and doing IT for them. So went from totally downshifted, or however you want to say it, totally switched industries and went all in on the catering and the party rental business.
So both you and your wife are in the business?
Yeah, so I always say, I'm the good looks of the business and my wife is the brains. She does all the payroll, back end stuff, make sure we have the permits, insurance, anything like that. I just work here.
Okay.
Yeah.
In catering, one of you has to be a good chef, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, so, I'm the chef. I'm the one who got us down this crazy path. I've liked to cook my whole life. I'm Greek, so my big fat Greek wedding is a true story. We all like to cook, we all like to be loud and all of that. So, growing up, my dad was the cook, and he was in the restaurant industry and all of that, and just got a liking to cooking and started doing it. One day, I walked into a brewery here in San Diego, and there was someone making tacos that were not very good, and I said to the beer tender, the owner of the bar, I said, "I can do a lot better than that guy." And 2 weeks later, he called me. So that's how I got started.
Fair enough. Thomas, totally a Greek last name. I
Oh,
would
for
have
sure.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So it was changed by my great grandfather. So
Okay. My daughter and wife and I love watching My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It is hilarious. My wife's family is Indian, and it's
very
there,
similar.
there's some very similar interactions, and so yeah, love
Yep.
watching that movie. All right, so how big is the catering business, and then how big in terms of crew or whatever is the party rentals?
Yeah. So now that we have both, kind of we're integrating. There's some overlap there. So catering, we employ 4 folks, and then on the party rental side, we have a crew of 8. But now we're seeing a lot of the guys, "Hey, I want more hours." Okay, get your food handlers. Let's go. So
Yeah.
we're seeing a little bit of overlap, which is good, and we're trying to integrate both businesses in many ways, and that's one of them too. So
From a back end perspective, are you going to combine it into, say, one tax entity, or does it make sense to are you keeping them separate?
keeping them separate for right now, from a tax
Yeah,
purpose, it makes a lot more sense that way.
got it. So, food wise, do you guys do just one event a day, a couple of weekend?
Yeah,
How do you
so
spread that?
we've really ramped that up in the last year. Prior to owning Ashley's Party Rentals, we did about, I would say, 8 to 10 larger events, weddings or, anniversary parties, whatever it may be, a year. We would have standing gigs at the breweries around town. We're a big brewery industry down here in San Diego. So we have our food truck every Thursday, Friday at various locations. And then, like I said, that 8 to 10 on the weddings or big parties. Since we took over Ashley's, we've already done 10 larger private events this year. So we're ramping up on that side a lot. And it's makes sense because people call, "Hey, I need 10 tables and 100 chairs." "Oh, cool. Do you have a caterer?" "No." "Well, let me give you a quote for that too." "Oh, really? Okay." So it integrates very well. And then on top of it, we're also expanding our the food truck avenue of it, where we're going out to. We actually, it's really cool. We're serving the Marines here in San Diego, big big industry. We're right by Camp Pendleton, which is one of the largest Marine bases in the world, and we're there pretty much every day with our food truck, giving them another option than just the chow hall to
Yeah.
eat at. So
What's the primary on the food truck? What do you guys serve?
gyros. So we're Greek food. So we're doing
There we go.
Yeah, we're doing French fries, Greek food, gyros, chicken wraps, falafel, that whole stuff. But I Californize it, I put
Yeah.
French fries in there. I put hot sauce. All my Greek relatives are like, "You put hot sauce in a gyro?" So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, Green Bay has a good food scene. Packers bring a lot of big city feel. We're about 250,000, but good Greek or Mediterranean food. And I hope nobody from Green Bay is listening who has a Greek restaurant is hard to find. And so that and dim sum are the two things I will find immediately when I go to a bigger area or a really nice sushi place. Best sushi I had in the continental United States was in San Diego. I'm blanking on the name. I stayed so long that my wife and daughter left because I just did the chef's choice omakase, and they're just handing me
Yeah.
monkfish liver and weird shit.
Love that.
Yeah, I think the trick is falafels can be super dry. What is your tip for making really good, delicious falafel?
So, like I said, we kind of Californize it. So there's
Yeah.
cilantro in ours. There's jalapeno. A
Okay.
lot less garbanzo beans than you would think, and then you know, it's all about how you fry it. So
Yeah.
if you over fry it, it's just gonna turn into a dry hockey puck.
Yeah.
So we got some techniques in there. Can't give away all the secrets, you know?
Fair enough. Fair enough. I didn't have breakfast, if you can't tell, so that's why I'm asking all these food questions. So
People that are looking for tent podcasts are gonna be a little upset about this one, maybe.
no, I bet they're probably listening to it on the way between jobs or something. I've talked to so many people who are like, I got like 3 hours of windshield time, and one of the questions later is about fast food. So I'll cut from the food stuff, and we'll start talking about the rental stuff.
Yeah, I can talk food all
Um,
day, so don't worry.
yeah. So once you took over the party rental business, tell me about your first event and how it went.
So first event, I'll never forget it. Jumped into the party rental. We had Robert, the previous owner. He kind of stayed around for a little bit just to kind of ease us into it all. And we had a big corporate rental that went out. It was, I don't know, 12 or so, 14, forget the exact number, 72 inch rounds and, 140 chairs, a podium, stuff like that. And I got there in the morning and he said, "You're coming with me. We're going to go pick this one up." And I was thinking, "Oh, all the other guys are coming. There's four other guys there." He said, "Nope, just me and you." And, I basically got taught how to carry chairs, which I never thought I would need to know how to do that, but he definitely showed me the technique on how to do that, how to roll 72-inch rounds. I'm good with people, so talking to customers and that sort of thing is really easy for me, but I was kind of shocked that I didn't know how to move chairs properly.
Fair enough. If it is an acquired
It
skill,
is, yeah. So, yeah,
yeah.
it was good, kinda learned on that one, and then from there, he kinda let me fly on our own.
And then from an inventory perspective, what are kind of the bigger items that you have? Tents, tables, chairs, like what
Yeah,
do
so
you have flatware and such?
yeah, we kind of we try to be the one-stop shop, so we got a little bit of everything. We ramp up to during graduation season, about 6,000, 7,000 chairs can go out at a time. The white folding and various resins and stuff like we're big on tables and chairs, of course. We have several tents and flatware and tabletop stuff as well. And then we're starting to get into more of the wedding stuff. So we have 3, 4 different wedding arches right now.
What is the trick to doing flatware and linens and such? Because when I had my business, it was always difficult to have guys with dirty hands touching all that stuff. So, do you have any tricks for all
Yeah.
of those items?
So one of the things when I jumped in was like, how does that work? Linens, we have several, we have I would say a third of our warehouse is linen storage. They go out like hotcakes. I mean, people rent those all the time. A lot of times we're not touching them. They're already dry cleaned, bagged, and everything. So that kind of answers the question there. But when the guys do touch them, gloves are your friend. Just nitro gloves, like I would use for the food truck or whatever. That and then I would say getting a machine that can like vacuum seal basically your flatware. So you put it
Okay.
in a bag, you put the heat press down and it seals that bag. That way when you're handing it over to the caterer or to the wedding planner, everything's clean.
Nice. Yeah, we those are just things we didn't do here.
Yeah.
But being a caterer, it makes complete sense. So when you took over the business, were there any items that you were like, I don't think these are going to rent, or I don't have space in the warehouse, and you sold, or did you kind of do a SKU rationalization?
Yeah, so we're still doing that. I decided my wife and I when we took over, we said 1 year we're not going to make any drastic changes. So we just sold. I had 84 black 6-foot folding tables, and they never moved the whole year I was here. So I said, you know what? They're just taking up room in my warehouse. They're not easy to clean. Let's get them out of here. So we got those out of here. There's been a lot of glassware. I mean, stacks and stacks of glassware that don't match our rest of the inventory, or just are obsolete in today's style and fashion. So sold that off. Vases, that was one. Most folks don't like your grandmother's looking vases, So got rid of those. So just kind of updating and like you said, clearing out the stuff that's not going out.
And you said you're trying to get more into weddings. So what have been the things you've been adding in?
Yeah, so wedding arches is one, and really pushing on doing a lot of photo shoots. That's a popular thing here where a venue will bring all the vendors in and do a big photo shoot, and you have to give the tables and chairs and all that stuff for free, but you get the pictures, you get put on their list, and hopefully that helps us out in the long run with getting more weddings. Focusing in on more of the higher priced chairs and higher priced linens and things of that is something that we're trying to look towards too.
Got it. So like a Charvari or some of those types, which are impossible to transport, but everyone loves them.
Pain in the butt.
Yeah. Prettiest venue wedding, like have you had a tent or chairs out on a cliff overlooking the ocean?
Yeah, so there's a spot here in La Jolla that it's basically you can rent it from the city of La Jolla or city of San Diego. Then you right on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Only about 50 people or so can be there. We take resins there, aisle runners 3, 4 times in the summer at least. So that one's a lot of fun, and the guys usually like delivering there because it's a quick turnaround. So they have to sit there and stare at the ocean for an hour while the ceremony's going on, and they get paid that hour, and yet usually get a nice tip from a happy bride. So that's a
Yeah.
fun one.
Nice. You said 6,000 chairs, by the way?
We have and in total about that. Yeah.
Okay. What size is your warehouse?
Well, I'm talking resins, X-backs. It's closer to 4,000, excuse me. I'm thinking of a big event we did over the summer that we'll probably get to.
Still a lot of chairs.
Yeah. Our warehouse is 4,200 square feet.
Okay. And do you go up with a lot of stuff?
Yeah.
Racking and such?
Yeah. We use every square inch of that place. We're busting at the seams now. We go about, I would say, 3 or 4 pallets high on chairs.
How do you keep all your chairs clean? Do you have a chair cleaner?
No, that's something I saw at ARA that I was totally impressed with, but right now it's just the guys in the warehouse rocking out to whatever they got on the radio and cleaning chairs.
Yeah, that chair cleaner, every time at the show, I'll talk to several people about it. And I mean, I don't think I've ever talked to anyone who said it was a bad investment.
Really? Okay.
We'll put a promo down here or
Yeah.
something. I can't remember the company's name. I just always walk past it and think it's such a great idea. All the things that help you wash more efficiently is good by me, reducing the labor. I think we're gonna have Steve, I believe is his name, from Tico on at some point to talk about tent washers. Getting into this new business, I don't need the financial details specifically, but how did you go about financing buying a company? Because sounds like a big operation, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably the biggest in Oceanside here, or we are. I know that for a fact. Basically, it was we had some money saved up. We knew we had to do something with the catering business. I mean, we were kind of busting at the seams. We knew the potential was there. At the time, I was still employed by the US government, so it was really kind of like a time factor. Like, what do we do? Do we open a restaurant? No, that's a time suck. So my wife had exactly 1 year prior had the idea. I was like, let's buy a wedding venue. Let's buy a piece of land where we can do our catering on every weekend, have that big event, and actually make a little bit money on tables and chairs and all the add-ons. So we were looking for a piece of property here in Bonsall or Fallbrook, which is just east of us. Popular wedding destination between us and Temecula, which is a wine capital of California. And we kept looking, couldn't find anything. And like I said, walked into Ashley's one day and he said, I'm selling. And my wife and I jumped on it. And to answer your question on how we did it, we had a little bit of money saved and we just kind of cashed out the chips we could and pushed them all
Yep.
in the middle for it. So,
Okay.
I mean, it was a gamble. It's a risk. Still paying on it, of course, and will be. But, it's worth it. It's been fun.
Okay. So do you do anything like an SBA loan or did he have seller financing he included?
Yeah. So, seller financing. So we came up with a down payment, and seller financing was what we went with there, which took a while to negotiate, but it made sense for both parties. And It took about, like I said, 2-3 months to actually get that down and close escrow on.
Yeah, I think that's a creative way. There's a lot of people who are aging out of their businesses, and I've friends doing this in other industries. But if you can show that you can be trusted and you're going to grow the business, it's easy to tell a story to them of let me give you an annuity essentially, and it makes it easier on them to find someone because it's hard to get a loan at this point. So
Yeah. Yeah, we went back and forth with our folks, his CPA, my CPA, and all of that. And finally he called me and he's like, let's go get coffee. So we went and got coffee. He goes, I want you to have a business. Let's just figure it out right now.
yeah, an underappreciated group of people are CPAs to make sure they keep you in line, especially in that case, and then having a good attorney to make sure things are
Exactly.
de-risked as much as possible. So, speaking of risk,
What
what
was the
was the thing that kept you up at night, either right before you bought the business or after? Were there any stressors or anxiety points?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the biggest things I've learned about the rental industry is the ebbs and flows. There is seasons within seasons of that. So buying in February 1st through April 1st, me and my wife were looking at each other going, what did we do? Because making payroll was hard, paying a mortgage was hard, all of those things, and it was a little scary. So I would say at first, and everyone kept saying, "Oh, wait for April, wait for April, wait for April." And then April 1st came and I didn't know which way. I was upside down. I was insane how busy we got. So I would say at first it was that little adjustment of understanding that the ebbs and flows and the seasons of the industry. But other than that, I would say, like you said, the risk. I get really nervous with my guys driving around as much as they do. There's a lot of crazy drivers out there, and I think I employ half of them. So, um, you know, that's a joke for all my employees listening. I'm just joking. But I do worry about, every day we leave the warehouse, I always say, drive safe, be careful. I
Yeah.
would say that's my biggest one. Listening to you guys and to you, Tony, a lot of people say the winds with tents and all of that. Fortunately, we're in Southern California. We don't get crazy weather or anything like that. So, but we do have the traffic and the crazy draggers.
Got it. Yeah, Southern California and Southern Florida are the 2 craziest group of drivers, and then somehow there's parts of Colorado
Really?
where everyone's bouncing around in their 4Runners and cutting each other off. So, yeah, we measure things in, I mean, we still do it in time, but I can't think of the last traffic jam I was in up here, short of when it snows a ton. But how do you deal with traffic and not having predictability of being able to get from point A to point B? Is it you go out really early to do some stuff, or you just avoid, 7 to 9 and rush hour?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. When we're going somewhere kind of far, like I mentioned, the La Jolla Cliff location or somewhere in downtown San Diego, we'll leave 2 hours before, it just to make sure that we're there on time. Traffic's a real thing for us, so we got to plan for it. For me as a business owner, I always look at that as time, like you were saying, windshield time, where we're paying the guys to sit in traffic, which not ideal. So we build out basically a spreadsheet that you put in the zip code, the amount of stuff they've rented, and it pops out a number on what delivery costs should be. And that factors in a lot of things, gas prices, time of day, things of that nature that can all factor into what it would cost at that time.
And do you have data behind the scenes? You're pulling gas prices every week since they're changing so much. You're an IT guy, so I'm sure
Yeah,
you're
so from
nerd
we're
on
doing
it.
all that manually right now, so we're pulling gas prices manually and things
Yeah.
of that nature, labor rates, things of that. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that will be automized in the future.
Which leads me to a question I really wanted to cover with you, which is AI. As an IT guy, I'm sure you're much smarter than I am. I just ask ChatGPT random questions, and it helps me write things because I hate writing. But talk to me about how you use AI in your business.
Yeah, I think what you said there is a perfect start to anybody wanting to jump into AI. I'm no expert in it. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm a user of it. Our team all uses it. I like it for, like you said, I'll throw out emails. Hey, respond to this customer, da 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 da, and it will write emails for me. From an advanced standpoint, a lot of what we can do with AI is, like I said, in the spreadsheets, looking at data. I gave it a whole list of our inventory, and basically said, organize this by cost, by whatever I want, and it can analyze that data of like what your, I did it for insurance. What's our inventory cost on a resale market, things of that nature. But I think we're just scratching the surface as an industry of AI. I know Point of Rental was one. No advertising here. They're not paying me, but we use them. That was our big change that I did. Was I went to Point of Rental. They have an AI suite coming out that I saw ARA right now from a point of rental standpoint and all of that. It will map out your deliveries for you and do that in an intelligent way, not just how you list it, but kind of organize it in a fashion that's, makes sense to a driving pattern or to a delivery pattern. That's another one. I think ChatGPT is something that every company, every person should be leaning on, like you said, to write emails, to basically do websites. I used AI a lot for our new website that we did. It just spits out what you want, and then you can tell it, "Hey, I don't like this look. I don't like this feel." A lot of data analysis is also where I'm at, is, looking at crunching up numbers. If I buy this stage that costs this much, I rent it out this many times. Please look at the last 3 years of data.
Mm.
That's the average time I rent it out. Da, da, da. It uses previous data to basically spit out a number that I'm hoping to come about.
Yeah. It's nice, yeah, in terms of payback period or
Yeah,
ROI,
yeah, yeah. I think
things.
a most underrated or underutilized way of using AI is to feed it information. A lot of people, like you just said, and I say AI, I'll speak specifically to ChatGPT or even Copilot, because Copilot is integrated into your spreadsheets, so it's pretty easy to give it data. But I mean, don't be afraid to upload a spreadsheet and say, "Hey, here is X, Y, and Z. Please use that as a data point for whatever you're asking." A lot of people just ask it questions, like you
Yeah.
said. Give it information to make an intelligent answer. I think is an unutilized way of using ChatGPT.
Yeah. We've started to use projects,
Uh-huh.
and that's super helpful. You upload all that information behind the scenes. You can write out some very specifics. In the past, we've put a like a dossier in there when we've been using it for fundraising activities for my other business.
Yeah.
But yeah, projects are great, and I've seen a lot of agents built on top of that as well, because the AI is only as smart as what it knows publicly.
Right.
So I still worry about I don't trust Sam Altman anymore. So we're switching over to Claude.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Sam, and scrolling podcasts with your GPT. But yeah, that's my one concern sometimes is maybe a little bit of data privacy. But they claim they're not stealing my data.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be a concern wherever you go. I think
Yeah,
another one, a lot of my data that I'm giving it is, we'll have a big event at a school where they'll rent 20 tables and 200 chairs, and they want a map of how we're gonna put it out. And, that's a service I wanna include and add. So I asked ChatGPT to do it. "Hey, I have 2-inch rounds. I have a gym that's this big. Please lay it out accordingly, da 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 da." And it will give me a picture that I can then hand off to the customer. So a lot of your data concerns, I think, are valid, but a lot of times it's like,
who cares? That's what I joked with my dad. He was like, "I don't want to get Alexa because she's listening," and I was like, who cares what 72-year-old Gary Airbar is talking about in his house?
yeah,
I don't think you need to worry about data privacy. It might serve you up. I like sometimes when things serve me up information or suggestions about things I've been typing about. I don't like it when I spent a whole day one time with my friend talking about cats, just intentionally, and then we both got fed a lot of cat videos. So I'm somebody's listening somewhere, but whatever. Maybe it makes us more efficient. Have you done anything with agents, the GPTs?
not really. Like I said, we're still scratching the surface on it. A lot of what I do is, PowerPoint into Copilot. That's a thing. And then like ChatGPT and feeding it feeding in information to spit out whatever I need.
How have you been learning it for yourself? Do you take courses or do you use it to teach you what
Yeah.
YouTube videos?
Reading a lot about it, just no specific book, but just online, a lot of blog posts, Reddit posts, things of that nature. And yeah, I would say YouTube videos is a good source. My time in the IT industry, I took one course on it, which is so obsolete now when you think about it, and that was just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no I think taking courses on something like that, it renders useless because it is so obsolete the minute you take the course. I mean,
Yeah, the one course I found valuable was on prompt, right? And
yeah,
being able to write a proper prompt because it's not like Google where you just ask it a question.
yeah,
You need to think about how you frame it to have it give you the best answer. And one thing I've been doing a lot of recently is feeding it the information and saying, what questions do you have for me that will get you to a 95% clear knowledge
yep,
of what you need to do or what information else you need to gather? Because otherwise, it just runs with the question
yep.
and doesn't come back to ask those
I
things.
will also say not every idea I have or every thought I have is good. Please be please be a critic to my own
Yeah.
inputs. So,
I think I might have mentioned in the podcast, there's a great South Park episode. I think it's number 2 this last season, where Stan's dad is talking to ChatGPT back and forth, right? And it's just giving him so whatever he wants
yeah,
to hear.
yeah,
Yeah. So I have it challenge me. I ask it for a TLDR because it always goes on for like this long. So give me that information up front and then get rid of those M dashes because everyone knows that was written by an AI.
yeah.
So how do you then take that down to your team to help them learn a little bit or encourage them to use it?
So we have 2 office staff and then my wife and I as well. And, I I would say the one thing to do is pay for the ChatGPT service or Claude or whoever you're doing. The free is good, but taking it to the 20 bucks a month or whatever it is well worth it. And that's one thing putting on the team there is, hey, here's a service, use it. It's going to help you write emails. Well, I'm pretty picky with how we communicate to customers. I think my team's learned that kind of the hard way from when I first came on and me saying use this to help with that. I think it was a pretty easy adoption for them.
Yeah, and some of the AI, I mean, most of the AI, you can feed it some writing samples of your own. So it uses your own voice. Because I have one and it's like, do you want this to be more professional or more neutral? And then it writes and I'm like, well, that sounds nothing like me.
Yeah.
I am super informal in
Right.
my emails.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we have some canned responses that it helped with just for when people book or whatever, "Thank you for booking," da, da, da. But any kind of weird, kind of heightened correspondence, someone messed up or whatever, my office team is using that, running it through there, just make sure things are working well, and then going back to, layouts of tables and things of that nature. They know that they can tap in on that as well.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. All right, so let's go back to starting your catering business and being part-time and having the day job still. Help the listeners think about your opinion on jumping both feet in versus gradually building yourself into the business.
Yeah, so I'm one of those guys that goes all in on things. If I'm gonna take up golfing, I'm gonna just jump all in. But I would say when it comes to how we did it with catering and I would suggest for folks that want to start their own rental company, go the gradual route. Be a weekend warrior, build that inventory slowly and quickly and the clientele slowly and quickly. That is gonna avoid the most risk. With catering, I'll speak from my own perspective. We did it for 9 years when I had a real adult job, and it was nice that we could say no to an event. If an event came in and it was 30 people and they didn't order a whole lot and they were it wasn't really worth the squeeze and we were gonna miss a little league game for our son or whatever. It was, "No, we're busy. We're booked that day." And it gave us the freedom to say no. If you went all in, you'd have to be saying yes to everything. So
Right.
that's where I would say taking the baby steps and doing it that way is the best. I mean, there was many a days where I took a sick leave or a vacation day from my IT job to go cater for 200 people. And people were like, "Oh, did you do something with the kids or did you go somewhere out of town?" And it was like, "No, I worked from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. that day on my day off."
Yeah.
So I mean, it worked out well for us, and I think it still is a testament to how hard not just I work, but my family's worked, my wife and everything. It was hard, but I think it's well worth it.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're playing zone defense
Yep.
instead of man to
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Yeah, I have one,
Okay.
and that feels like enough.
Yeah.
But how old are they?
12. Well, he'll be 12 in June. 9 and 5-year-old little girl. So 2 boys and then a little girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you balance that family aspect out with the fact that what you're doing is on the weekends
Yeah.
at night?
It's hard. I won't sugarcoat it, but I'll give this past weekend an example. Someone rented just sandbags for an event down at the beach here. So 48 sandbags were delivered on Friday. They needed picked up on Saturday night. So we went out to dinner to a restaurant that was right by where I had to pick up those sandbags. And when the check came, me and my boys went and got sandbags, threw them in the back of the truck, and met my wife and everyone for ice cream after. So I mean, I think it's a valuable lesson to the kids on how to work, that work is out there for you, even if you're not employed by someone, you can go make your own work. So to balance it, I think it's a family business and that there's a reason for it and the whole family's involved. My kids wash chairs and take orders at the food truck, help with catering and all of that. So
Yeah. How much do they expect you to pay them?
that's all. And my oldest always has that down to the penny. So I told him with the sandbags this past weekend, I said, $1 a sandbag, get it in the back of the truck. And my kid at the end was like, "You owe me $20." I moved 20 sandbags. So, there's benefits to having your kids doing work too from a financial and tax standpoint. So, like you said, CPAs are valuable people. Talk to them. I would,
Yeah.
but always give them. I handed him a $20 bill. He was ecstatic. So, it's
Yeah.
you know, it's good stuff.
And he's using that $20 bill to just go pay for video games. What's he
Oh,
using that for?
baseball and fishing.
Okay.
So yeah, he was already on Amazon that night looking at lures and all that kind of stuff because we're going fishing for Easter weekend, going camping.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then working with your wife, we had a husband and wife combo to
Yeah.
collectively answer the question, but talk us through what it's like to work with a spouse, tips and tricks to keep your marriage strong while also having. I love that you're laughing about
Yeah.
this already. Talk to me about this.
I I would say I'm blessed to have a very great mentor and example in my life. My wife's aunt and uncle own a very large plumbing business in the Angeles area. So watching them and how they function and how they act and how they talk to each other and all of that has been a great influence on me. And I learned from the best with them. So, I mean, a lot of people on your show and other folks have like, oh, no, you can't talk about business in the bedroom or after 8 p.m. or whatever. And that doesn't work for us. I mean, there's been plenty of times where we're in bed talking about scheduling or tables and chairs or how many pounds of beef to order or whatever. We always joke that that's our pillow talk. So I think for us, our secret is just first and foremost be a teammate through everything. And my struggle is different than her struggle within the family unit and within the business unit. And just appreciating where we're both coming from on that. I always say I'm more of the operations, so I'm the one out on the food truck or on the catering line or whatever. Not saying she doesn't do that every once in a while, but I'm the primary on that. So she understands like, I've been over a grill for however many hours today and she's been the one that's dealing with kids and employees all day. So just having that understanding for each other and appreciating it and being each other's person at the end of the night is I think the most
Yeah.
important.
Okay. And then talk to me about communication
Yeah.
because I might have said this in the past, but resentment is the result of unmet expectations. And so I think communication is the biggest part of it. And you guys are communicating while you're laying in bed. But how does communication play into all that to make sure you guys still have a strong marriage? There's no resentment, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we are in constant communication all day. If that's text messages or even phone. I mean, I think one day I looked at my call log and I had 12 calls back and forth between her in one day. Some of them are 30 seconds, some of them are 10 minutes. But it's a constant communication. Our office, we kind of share a desk. It's kind of an L-shaped desk. So I'm at one end, she's at the other. So we're constantly in communication, even if I'm not present with her. We're texting or calling each other. And you're absolutely right with communication. It's probably the most vital instrument between a couple and between a business owner and between your employees. So a lot of times our communication is hey, can you relay X to the team or whatever? And sometimes it's integrated into what we're doing, of hey, you got to pick up so and so, pick up Luke at practice tonight. Okay. So it all flows into one kind of meshed network, so to say.
Yeah. And do you have, are there grandparents hanging around that will cover?
Yeah, so we're like I said, really big family with us being, and then my wife, she's not Greek, but her family's just as big. So her mother actually lives with us, and my parents are always involved on the weekends. They live up in Los Angeles, so they're a little bit of ways away. But I mean, they're down. I mean, the other day we had a huge event, and we all hands on deck. It was a big one, so my mom and dad came down, watched the kids while we did that, which is good for the kids too. A lot of people, oh, you want to be away from your kids on a Saturday night? And it's like, well, it's not every Saturday, and they're with grandma and grandpa, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, my parents see it as a favor to them to hand over my daughter.
Yeah.
And when they're asked where their kids live, their answer is, "Oh, my granddaughter lives in Swamico." They don't say where I live anymore. And they listen to this podcast, they're probably gonna defend themselves, but I think at this point it's maybe tied. They might like her just a little bit
Oh,
better.
my
But
parents like my kids a lot better so that's for sure.
yeah. So I'm a tent company, so I got to ask you some tent
Yeah.
questions. What does your tent inventory look like?
So we have the West Coast tents. We have six of those, eight of those. Most of them are 20 by 20s. We do have a 30 by 60, and then we can make that into a 30 by 40 if we wanted to. Tents here in California, they're not as rented as often as back east, I don't think. But yeah, we put them up in the summer and in our busy time at least once, twice a week. And I would say, I don't know if you're going to get into more questions on the tent, but I could talk a little bit more.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So I that was one of the things that was kind of intimidating to me when I first started. I had no idea how to put them up, what to do with them, you know, any of that, how to transport them, nothing. So when I took over the company, I was like adamant, go on everyone that's doing a tent. And one of the first ones we did, I saw these guys just lifting the tent up and then putting the pole in, and it seemed pretty hokey to me. And then what happened was one of the tents fell, hit me and another guy, knocked us down on our butts. And I was like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. So
Yeah.
that's when I found the tent jacks. We bought two of those. The warehouse now calls them thing one and thing two. Those I think are a must have for any tent company.
Yeah, my guys, when we had the rental business, they insisted. We had all these football players and such. They just wanted to do the shoulder presses, right, on a 40 wide frame tent. So I'm going to plug us, have a great frame jack. It was designed by Pete McVeigh, who's on our team. Basically took all the things he disliked about frame jacks from his 40 years of operating his business and integrated those things in. So instead of using a chain or a cable, it actually uses a web guy and never flat tires. It actually telescopes up and down because there's nothing worse than a 14-foot thing you're trying to cram into the back of a truck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think the next one we buy, we're definitely going to get that one because I saw it at ARA and I was like, that is so much better than the one I have.
yeah.
So
All right. Well, I'm glad. So, catering aside, if you were to go back and start a rental business from scratch and I give you $20,000, what would you buy with that $20,000?
I'd definitely buy the 30 by 60 tent. That's one that goes out often for us, and you can kind of make it different size if you need to or whatever. So I'd get tents in order so that you can have 2 or 3 different sizes there, maybe 20 by 20, so you can do 20 by 40s. And then I would do tables, chairs, just the regular folding, and then I definitely get into the flatware and the plates and the napkins and all of that, just because the storage on that, the square footage that it takes up in our warehouse is next to nothing.
Right.
And you're buying a fork for 250 and you're renting it for $1.25. So it makes a lot of financial sense.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite flatware company that you swear by, or do you kind of have a
We
mix?
just shop around, figure out what's what and pricing and all of that. So
How do you wash it? Do you have all your own stuff
we have a
in house?
dishwasher. We have a commercial dishwasher. So 3 compartment sink. So on a various day, one guy is on the dishwasher and washing dishes all day. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then shrink wrapping it up.
yep. Yeah.
So, give me one or two mistakes. No, I don't want to call them failures, but but things that have contributed to your learning
Yeah.
over time that you think are important to share.
I think I this is a mistake I think common within the industry and common with me is like dance floor. So the dance floor that we inherited with the business, old wood, big, bulky dance floor. I found a white and black dance floor that clicked in together, really lightweight, all of those things. So I went ahead and bought it. $5,000 later, it hasn't returned its investment. Been rented once or twice. It will return its investment, but that $5,000 would probably been better spent somewhere else within my business in the last 6 months. So I think that's a common problem. That's an example of the problem of like, oh, we need this person's asking for whatever, a new stage or a different kind of stage. Let's just buy it. And I tend to jump the gun a little bit too quickly on stuff like that.
So, if someone listening has a catering business and hasn't really gotten into the rental side and they're thinking about it, any tips? Obviously, you could buy or you could start your own, but tips for getting into that or considerations that you wish you had known?
I would say line of business was kind of I would say, I don't want to say easy button because it hasn't been easy, but we got all of the customers, I mean, the business was around for 17 years. So it's been known in the area for a while. But if I could do it again, start from scratch. Help. You already have a customer base with catering, buy the tables, buy the chairs, put some package deals out there. Tell your customers you can do that as well and try it that way. That's what I would suggest. Not no regrets on what we did, but there is another path to success, and that would be it.
Okay. So, I guess, do you have two websites still between the two businesses or have you integrated them?
No, still two websites that both kind of point to each other.
Okay.
And then two, I mean, it gets a little dicey because people will call for our catering business is called Spinning Meats, Vertical Rotisserie Euros.
I would call you first and second, given the name of your business.
Yeah, a lot of people like that name. So a lot of people call Spinning Meats and then they'll also call Ashley's because they're having that same party. They don't know we've integrated. So it's literally I'll pick up one phone call and then the same person's on the next phone call. So
Yeah.
trying to get the people within Oceanside to understand that this is one company has been a big challenge of ours. We're still working on that and trying to figure out
Okay.
what that looks like.
Yeah. There's an episode of Parks and Rec that everyone needs to watch where there's a guy who owns 5 different tent companies and they keep calling and it's the same guy answering. I think one of them called Rent 10 Tents, the other one's the Tentagon. One of my favorite episodes of that show. It is entertaining.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into some fun rapid fire questions. So, one tool or piece of tent equipment you cannot live without.
Okay, so everyone says zip ties. I'm gonna say the little snips to cut the zip ties because I hate the tails coming off of those things. So
Right. So that's a good segue into a message I got on Facebook this past week. So Adam Masakowski from AE Rentals in Michigan sent me a link for reusable zip ties, which I thought was kind of cool because I feel like our industry is slowly polluting the earth with all of the zip ties, and I'm sure everyone goes and picks them all up, but they go somewhere, right? Yeah. So Paige and the marketing team, Nisa, are going to put something down here in case anyone wants to
I would.
learn about those.
I'm
Yeah.
very. I'm not optimistic on those. I will say.
I would also be curious. He said he's tried them out. I would have initially thought, well, cable ties for my cable for my television, right? Or whatever it is. But he said found them to be a good tool, but agree with you on on the snippers. But we joke on the show all the time that most tents are held up by bail pins and zip ties. All right. What is another small item in the glove box of every one of your fleet vehicles?
Allen wrench. So one of the first things I did was told my team we need a toolbox on each truck, and Allen wrench is one that we had to throw in there because our dance floor and various things that we put together use that Allen wrench, and that's not something that you can use a key or a pocket knife to use. You got to have that little tiny Allen wrench.
Yeah. How do you make sure it doesn't find its way out of the truck or the box doesn't find its way
Yeah,
out of the
well,
truck?
that's been a
That
challenge.
things walk away.
Yeah, no, things always, yeah. So that's been a challenge. So I don't know what people do with stuff. So we check
Yeah.
that and make sure it's still there.
Okay. Yeah. In manufacturing, we do 5S shadow boards. So basically, at every station, you have an outline of a scissors, right? And you have an outline of um, a tape measure or whatever else is at the station. Thinking back to your son, who's the big fisherman, you could possibly have a tackle box
Yeah.
that the crew has to check in, out, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if they open up and they see this part is empty, you know
That's
that you need to fill that back in.
good
Just
idea.
off the top of my head
I
idea.
like that.
All right. What is a memorable event or project you've been a part of? And that can be on either the catering
Yeah.
or the side.
So on the rental side, this past year was the 250th birthday for the U.S. Marines. We live right next door to Camp Pendleton, which is huge Marine base, and we got a call to provide tables, chairs, tents, and all of that for their big celebration that JD Vance was at, Vice President JD Vance. Before I took the business, I mean, the company Ashley's would have said no to going on base, but since I've taken over, we have that ability of getting on base now and so forth. So we said yes, and it started out as 1,000 chairs. I mean, they called the next day, oh, we need 2,000. Called the next, oh, we need 3,000, and it finally got to about 6,000 chairs, 4 tents, and I don't know how many tables, 100 tables or whatever. I mean, our warehouse was empty, and we had to do setup and breakdown on that, and that was really cool to be a part of. I mean, we weren't there for the celebration, but knowing that we were part of it, I mean, the city shut down because vice president was in town and all the brass and all of that. So it was pretty cool to say we were a small part of that.
If it had been for the Army and not for the Navy, would you still have done the event?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. Maybe not during the Army Navy football game.
Probably.
You might not have, but yes. Just an interesting question I thought of. I don't know. All right. Let's talk about funny moments. What's the most unusual or surprising request you've received from a client?
Well, I just got an email the other day for a wedding to cater a wedding, and they want breakfast at their wedding for dinner.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting one.
Euro omelets, man.
Uh,
Fucking love you. I love Euro omelets. Extra meat.
yep. Well, come out to San Diego. We'll get you fed.
Yeah.
I would say from a food standpoint, I mean, we get weird asks all the time. Can you do whatever? They want banana leaves on the table instead of tablecloths, weird stuff like that. But I mean, I think one of that same event, that Marine base celebration, I think one of the where my crew laughed the most was cleaning that event up because it was just every stereotype you could think of. We were counting Zin pouches, broken chairs, and energy drinks all over. So it was just it was it was pretty funny. So we had that little competition going. Zin pouches won. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Zin and Ons probably
yeah.
fuel the rental industry. I embarrassingly have one of mine right here. Which I've crit like 7 times and just it's a hard thing to kick.
Yeah.
Better than doing the alternative
Yeah.
dip or whatever. But yeah, better than vaping.
That vaping's bad. I growing up, I played hockey, so a lot of guys had the pouches in when they played, and I never got into it, and thank God I didn't, because I know I'd be like
Yeah.
you, quit 6 times and never actually
Yeah.
quit.
Yeah. If you give me an option, I would have guessed Zyn would have been the most popular thing you were finding. All right. Some rapid fire non-random questions. If you can open another business completely unrelated to the event industry, what would it be?
Okay, so not catering, not rental. I would say
Okay.
a batting cage or a golf simulator location. I mean, golf simulator, we're in California, so people golf any time of year, but opening that as like a bar or something like that, that you can go hit balls at. Batting cage, my sons, we take them there weekly. I know that the ROI on that is probably very good. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if you've ever been to the IAPA show, it's in Orlando. It's a crazy show, but we're always next to the guys who have like the virtual batting cages, kind of like
Hit
it's a
tracks.
interesting
Yeah.
concept. Got to be expensive,
Yeah.
but are you a big golfer then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Handicap?
About an 8.
Okay. I told myself as soon as I break 90, we have Whistling Straits just south of us. We're blessed with really good
Yeah.
golf courses. Have you played, what's the nice course out by
Torrey
you?
Pines?
Yeah.
I have not. So, fun fact about Torrey Pines, it's for San Diego residents, city of San Diego residents, like $70 to play, $60 to play.
Yeah.
If you're outside of that city residency, it's like $300 to play.
Right.
So just I'm outside. I'm city of Oceanside, not city of San Diego. So haven't played there yet, but will one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite interview question when you're bringing out a new team member?
Yeah. So I don't have a go-to question. I mean, I like to have a conversation. I think that's invaluable to who that person is, who, how they're going to work, how they're going to fit in with the team. So I like asking about their life, their family, what makes them tick more than anything than just saying, what's your biggest weakness? I think is just those kind of questions don't do it for me.
I like when they turn it around and like I care too much.
Yeah.
I try too hard,
Right.
which
I'm a
makes me sick.
perfectionist. Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
If you had a theme song that played every time you entered a room, what would it be?
so I think this question, I'll be honest, stumped me the most out of everything because I think it would change daily. But what we've been rocking out to in the warehouse, my team just turns on the turns on the speaker and goes at it with washing chairs or loading the trucks is Up by Forrest Frank. So
Okay.
a beat, it's fun, great message. It gets our warehouse going.
Yeah.
The guys all know that I jam out to it as well, so they'll throw it on.
Okay. We had a DJ on talking about a bouncer show a couple episodes ago, and he didn't have a good answer, which just blew my mind that the DJ didn't have a great answer on that.
Yeah, that's shocking.
Yeah. I think my favorite answer so far is all I do is win. My friend Tree had that answer when we did the episode at the ATA conference.
No,
That was
it's a good one.
I think a good answer. Yeah. Go to fast food option if you're running between jobs, and the answer has to be In and Out. So give me a different one.
Okay, so yeah, In-N-Out's always good, but we're in Southern California, so there's Mexican food shops on every corner. Alberto's, Gilberto's, all of them, and they all have a great California burrito, which is French fries, carne asada, all the goods in there. So getting one of those is always key to a good day if you're running around.
Okay. I can't do the fries in my burrito.
Please.
I don't know what it is. What was
I
that?
want to end the podcast now.
It's perfect. We have like 4 questions left. There's Taco John's is a Midwestern
It's not the
restaurant.
same.
And
I've had Taco John's.
the potato olays, absolutely. Meat and potato burrito with the olays. But the French fries, if they're crispier, if they're like a In-N-Out burger style, I could do it. But if they're like thick
No,
and
they're
old,
small cut. Yeah. You can
okay,
we'll get you some euros, we'll get you a California burrito. We'll do it right.
there you go. All right. I am coming for the World Cup. We're coming and staying. Yeah, we're gonna go to LA. I'm a huge soccer fan,
Oh,
football fan. So going to LA, driving up to San Francisco, working remotely the whole time.
Yeah.
So I definitely will get some In and Out while I'm there, and then Got to maybe get down for some tacos El Gordo. I'll come to spinning meats.
Yes.
Besides the Euro meat, are there any other meats that
Yeah,
are
we do
spinning?
chicken, we do falafel. So we
Okay.
do a Greek fries where it's like
Yeah.
pour all the stuff on top of bed of fries. It's really good.
Do you have a favorite book or podcast?
Yeah, so my favorite book is Band of Brothers by Stephen Ambrose. I think it's the ultimate example of leadership and teamwork, and I'm really big in both of those. So that's kind of what fuels me on a daily is building leaders, building teams, things of that nature. From a podcast standpoint, I jump all over. I mean, I listen to a little show called How You Rent It. I listen to Joe Rogan. I mean, I go all over. So it's just kind of like, oh, my buddy will be like, you got to listen to this one or whatever. And I'll throw that on. But yeah, from a book standpoint, I think that's kind of a guiding principle of mine.
Okay. Any leadership lessons? It's like your primary kind of focus or
No,
trying to think what the word is, but
no, I get what you're saying. I would say with that is another book called Let Them Lead. And that's basically the mantra of it is let them lead. You can't micromanage every decision that your team's going to do. So building a leader out of those individuals is I think the most important and making sure that they have the same mindset that you do in making those decisions. So let them lead. Let them do it. And a lot of times that bites you in the butt. They'll fail and they'll end up stumbling or whatever. But being
yeah.
there to guide them on, hey, what did we do wrong here? Why did it happen this way? And just let them lead and guide their own decisions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, life is failing and learning.
Yep.
And so if you let them do that, they're going to learn a lot quicker. And I like the question, they'll come to me with a question and I ask back, what would you do? Because they're going to have a better answer because they're the ones more involved. And then we bat it back and forth, right?
Yeah. Lately, we've been, I've been telling the team, hey, you guys come up with the way we're going to run the shop today or whatever, what we're going to clean, look at next week, look at this, look at that. But, you tell me what we're doing.
Yeah. The goal of for any business owner should be that the business can run without you, right?
Yeah, trying to get there is difficult, but yeah.
I would say, yeah, being able to take a vacation. I've had maybe 2 times that I've been able to delete email from my phone, and it's gotten a lot better more recently. I had a great team who all own their individual departments, and I trust more than myself in their areas. They don't let me use machines on the floor. It's for a good reason, but yes, mantra was the word I was thinking of, so thank you.
Yes, there you
Yes.
go.
All right. So, kind of on the similar topic, but if you could have a gigantic billboard, I'm going to say on the side of the 5, right? It's a 5 kind of comes through where you guys are and have anything on it and you can't advertise, getting a message out, what would it say and why?
Well, my faith drives me and my family. That's the guiding principle of our lives. So I'd probably have some kind of Bible verse on there.
Okay.
Ephesians 6, chapter 6, it talks about putting on the armor of God. So that's something I think about. It's a long verse, so I won't say it, but and they probably wouldn't put it on the billboard because it would cause traffic. But putting on the armor of God, I think of that pretty much every day, especially when we have a tough day or a long day ahead of us. I think that's where I would focus in on and hopefully
Yep.
change some lives that way.
So the authenticity of having a dog in the background, I 2 episodes ago, my dog was jumping on me and I talked about it a little bit on the podcast. So,
I'm sorry
love
about
the,
that. I really
no worries. What kind of dogs?
we got a golden doodle and a Wheaton Terrier, and someone just walked
Okay.
in the house, so he's very excited. So
Did your kids name the pets or did you and your wife name the pets?
there's a funny story about Charlie, our golden doodle. I got him when my wife was 6 months pregnant with our oldest, so he's older. But it was during the Winter Olympics. Big hockey fan, and Oshie was the scorer for the Team USA that beat Russia that game. And I was up at 4 in the morning with the puppy, and my wife comes downstairs pregnant, and I was like, I figured out what to name him. And she's like, what? I'm like, Oshie. And she's like, does he play for the Kings? Because that's my team, the LA Kings. And I was like, no, he plays for the St. Louis Blues. She's like, no. I'm like, why? Because you're gonna cuss out Oshi at some point in the regular season, and the dog's gonna get upset. It's like, good point. See, that's why she's the brains.
Makes total sense. I had a Charlie as well.
Okay.
He passed away 2 years ago, but he was my emotional support dog, right, for
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And we now have a cat and a dog, a puppy and a kitten. And my daughter named one of them Fluffy, which actually kind of fits for the cat. And then the dog Maisie, my wife and I both went to Michigan, and so ChatGPT named the dog.
Oh,
Fed it a bunch of information, and it was like, "What about Maisie? We like it."
good.
So Maisie gets locked out of here because she'll just jump on top of me.
Yeah. I hear him out there. So my wife got home from dropping off the kids at school, and he's very
Yeah,
excited. So
got it. All right, so if you could have dinner with any historical figure or I guess current celebrity, who would it be?
I would go back to that book, Band of Brothers. So Dick Winters is the main character or one of them in the book, and again, his leadership style and the way he brings that team together, I think is pretty awesome. And picking his brain would be great. Another one would be Herb Brooks from the '84 U.S. Olympic team, the coach there. I mean, everyone's seen the movie, but the actual dude would be fun to sit and talk hockey with.
Yeah. It's always funny to me in Southern California, Southern Florida, hockey fans. Just throws me for a loop.
Wayne Gretzky. I mean, I was a kid when he was on the Kings, so
Makes sense. I was watching the John Candy movie, I Like Me, which is a great movie. I love John Candy. Yeah, and, I didn't realize him and Gretzky own the Argonauts up in Toronto. All right, special talent or most interesting thing about yourself?
I don't really have any hidden talents. I say I'm good at two things: cooking and talking to people, and I do both daily now, which is awesome. But I grew up in Los Angeles, right near Hollywood and all that. So as a kid, I was on TV shows and movies, and like as background extra kind of work.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
so there's a couple movies out there you can kind of see my face plop into the screen and see me in the background of. My kids get a kick out of that. But
What movie would we know that you were in?
Matilda,
Matilda?
yeah,
Good movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm scattered through there with me and my cousins. There's scenes
Okay.
where you could pause and be like, there they are." So
Yeah. Nice. I was on The Price is Right. I was in LA with a bunch of friends. Somehow I have a friend who's like 6'3" and dashingly handsome, and I just assumed he would be the one who would get on, and they called my name, and I was like, "Shit. I got I gotta go down and be on stage." I got to meet Bob Barker. He was kind of like the character on Happy Gilmore. He was playing himself. Interesting character. Back to cooking. If I came to you and said, "Make me the best dish you can make," what is that one dish that would just blow my mind?
uh, ooh, that's a tough one. That's the hardest question you've asked.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I do like meat. I like spinning meats, but I will eat anything. I ate tarantula one time in
Ooh.
Cambodia. So,
Yeah,
um,
I'm one of those that will try anything. So
yeah.
I would probably make you a steak and potatoes with some veggies.
Okay.
Just because
Yeah.
that's, like, my favorite thing and my wife's favorite thing, and, a special occasion, we usually make that at home rather than going to the house or whatever. That or, like, a bluefin tuna, like because we can catch that out here, and it's really good. Good, nice sear on that. But, I mean, I've cooked so many gyros in my life that it would be amiss to not give you one of the best gyros you've ever had or the best gyro you've ever had.
Yeah. I'm Wisconsin nice, and so I have a really hard time sending food back. The only thing I will ever send back is a steak that was just hammered
Oh god.
on the grill.
It's
I if
it's wrong.
it is, and I mean medium rare. That is the correct answer always.
Yep.
Um, but if I get something that's well done, I'm gonna send it back, and I always feel bad, but paying a lot of money for a
Yeah,
steak.
Midwest steak is so good too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
better than California. I will say that every day of the week. I have family in
Yep.
Iowa, so we go out there about once a year. And
Okay.
I just eat cow the whole time I'm there.
Ruth's Chris for me is surprisingly it's the whatever they cook at the 900 degrees or
Yeah.
whatever it is. But it's a chain, but one of my favorite steaks.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
So let's do some final thoughts. Any advice you have for someone starting a rental business, buying a rental business, growing a rental business?
Yeah, I'd say just do it. I mean, sometimes betting on yourself is the best bet you can make, and it will definitely provide you, in the very least, might not be the most financially sound decision, but it will give you the freedom that you, I think, deserve to be with your family, kids, whatever it is that makes you tick. So I just stand by the fact of just go for it. A lot of people sit there and have a good idea or want to do more with their life or whatever, but are too afraid of moving on or pulling the trigger on it. And I just say, do it.
Cool. Nick, it was a pleasure to have you on.
Yep.
Loved all the answers. Loved being able to talk food. It's 11 o'clock here. I'm very hungry at this point. So I'm going to have to go find something. Maybe I'll make myself a steak. Yeah, appreciate having you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. Want to start your own rental business? Visit americantent.com/tent rental and download our guide on the 7 steps to start your own tent rental business. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. For more great content, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And if you want to be a guest, email marketing@americantent.com. Thanks for listening to How I Rent It, and until next time, keep things intense.